Hi, I'm Mike Saville and welcome back again to the Gydeline GDPR journey. This is the third in our series about how we're getting ourselves compliant, and this time we're talking about data mapping. So we've completed our data mapping and I'm going to take you through a couple of steps that we've been through. Firstly, about creating a simple data map, and then we'll look at it in some more detail. So let's take a look at our basic data map. So when we talk about basic data mapping, we're looking for a few key pieces of information. Now, the basic data map I'm going to show you is one that we use with all our customers, and it gives them a really simple picture of where they are with their information that they have and that they use. And we're looking to answer a few key questions. Firstly, what personal information do you have? Secondly, where are you storing it? Where are you putting that information when you've got it? Thirdly, why do you need it? What is it that you're using it for? Number 4 is where from? Where did you get it from? And then lastly, why do you think you have permission to use it? And this answers a number of things in the GDPR around what is your legal basis, who are the recipients, who are you transferring it to, and numbers of other things. So it's a good starting place on your GDPR journey. So if we look at the types of information that Gydeline are using, firstly, we have personal information about our employees, things like name, email, phone, date of birth, bank details, things like that. And that information, we store it in a number of places. And this needs some quite careful thinking about. Yes, we've got an HR system where we store information about people. We've got their information on our finance system and our payroll system, which we use to pay them. And the payroll system is run and accessed by our accountancy firm, and that might not be too unusual. But as well as those obvious systems, there are things like email. There are employee details on email, and phones, and we've got a mixture of personal and business phones, and so phone numbers, names, email addresses are stored on those phones. So we have to be very careful about identifying all the places where this information is. What we typically see is that information is also on documents and spreadsheets and various others. We're quite good in that space in that we don't proliferate data in that manner, but lots of companies do. So why do we need that information? Well, we want to give them a job and we want to pay them their money they want, and we need to be able to contact them. Where do we get the information? Well, we got it from the employee as part of the recruitment process. And why do we think we have permission to use that information? Well, we've got contracts with these people, and there will be terms and conditions within those contracts that mean we can use that information to employ them. We also have personal information about our customers, name, address, email, phone number, but some other information like the history of what they've done with us, the interaction with us, some social profiles. And that's important information to capture because we might need to give that information back to them at some stage. And again, where are we storing it? Well, it's on our customer relationship management system, it's in email, it's in our finance system, and it's in our phones. And why do we have it? Well, we need to deliver services to them, we need to fulfill our contracts, we need to keep them updated, and we also need to tell them about related products and services. Where did we get the information? Well, it was direct from the customer, and we have a contract with them and some terms and conditions, which is why we think we have the permission to use that information. We have a relationship with suppliers, and we use that to receive services from them, to keep them updated, and they gave us that information, and again, we have a contract in place with those suppliers. The interesting space really is the last space, which is around leads and prospects. Like most other businesses, we are trying to grow and to develop our business, and we need to record personal information about those leads and prospects. And we do that in our CRM system, but it's also on email and phones. What are we using it for? Well, we're using it for marketing to them and promoting our business to them. And we get this information from a number of sources. We get it from online forms, from events that we've been to. In the past, we've used bought-in mailing lists. We work on referral. We get information from free trials, from face-to-face meetings, from a number of different spaces. And this is where the permission gets slightly tricky, because really a lot of the effort in the GDPR is to make sure you do have the right permission to use this information. And we're relying on consent and legitimate interests. And we know that we need to tighten up, to do some work to make sure that we're doing everything we need to do in those spaces. But by identifying the information and where we've got it from, it enables us to then focus in on those areas. So in terms of our more detailed data maps, which we'll come on to in a second, we're doing one for the employees. We're doing one for our payroll system because that goes externally and there's a different set of considerations. We're doing them for our customers. It goes into the CRM and we want to see how that works through. We're doing one for our suppliers. But principally, our data maps are going to be focused around our leads and prospects, how we use that information, where we get it from, and the reasons we have to use it. So that's our basic setup and the information that we use. Not too dissimilar to many of our customers. We're going to take a look at the detailed mapping for one of those areas in a second. We have a system that we use, but it's very similar to the data mapping template that we make available for free on Gydeline.com. So there's a link on the screen. Please use that and go and get the template for yourself. But now let's take a look at our system and one of our more detailed data maps. So this is our more detailed mapping view, and I've chosen our free trials process to do a map of the data that we receive and we use there. So some basic bits of supporting data in terms of the date that it was done and who did it, and a name for this data flow. I've called it free trials personal data. And then I've just given a description of the personal data, and really it just says that people can sign up for a free trial of Gydeline, and they enter some information, gets passed to our CRM system, and we generate an account in our software. Who owns the process? We describe who owns the process. We then describe who has access to the personal data. In this case, it's employees of Gydeline only, and a small bit of detail about the security we've got on there. Details about where the personal data comes from, and then which information we collect. So in this case, it's a very small amount of data: name, email, company, and job role. Next, we give more detail about where we're storing the data. So in this case, we're storing it within our CRM system. It goes into an outgoing email and within the Gydeline internal software database. So we need to be quite specific about where it is, because that can affect the recipients and any transfers of data. I've given a very brief description of the flow of data, and it talks about some of the systems that the data passes through. So it goes from the web form on the website to our customer system. It then goes via email and then finally arrives in the Gydeline software. And then, because we are moving data between the systems, how are we transferring it? And really the key piece where it comes from external to us is it comes direct from the individual into an online form. From then on, it stays within our own internal systems. And those internal systems are in various locations, and that's the final question of the data map, which is which locations are it in. So our CRM is in data centers in Amsterdam and Dublin, and our software is in data centers in Dublin. And these are accessible via web browsers. So that's the detailed view of one of our areas, and obviously we've completed that data map across all the areas of personal information that we're processing. If you remember, the reason why we're doing this is because the Gydeline software has identified a number of actions that we need to complete. And so for data mapping, a key one is having identified all the recipients of personal data. And that's something we can now cross off our list. So a small step, but we're moving towards a compliant status. So that's data mapping. Next time, we're going to talk about our record of processing activities and what we need to do in that space. So until then, we hope you find your compliance simple.